Welcome to another exciting episode of our podcast, and I am one of your hosts, Sean, and with me are
Sammy Scream.
and
Thomas.
and we also have a guest with us today, and her name is
Charley.
Welcome to the podcast you have joined, which is what is it, everybody?
Spark.
2, 1.
Podcast.
Oh my god!
I'm new to this.
Apparently, we are still new to this.
Yeah, we have to inform Charlie of the podcast she just joined. She had no idea.
Nope.
Kidnapped you for this podcast. It's fine.
So we're looking today at episode 15 of the original series, the next to last episode of season 1. This episode introduces the Insecticons. But before we begin, Charlie, you can introduce yourself, tell us a little about yourself.
Hey, so I'm Charlie. Grew up partially in the 80s, a lot of the 90s, and I really am into 80s cartoons. So revisiting Transformers has been quite interesting.
Yeah, I got your message earlier. You actually said you started episode in 1 and watched all the way up to this one.
Not all the way. I actually got up to about episode 8 where the Dinobots come in, and I just wanted to just get a handle on who everybody was again and what the world was, what their home world is, and what the main conflicts are going on. Yeah. Anyway, I kind of got some background on what was happening on the old school Transformers.
I think the only question we really need to ask her is, are you a fan of Starscream?
The most important question.
Yes, definitely. He's been staging a mutiny since episode 1 or 2. A pretty egotistical character, ex-scientist and explorer, and
He's a current scientist. He didn't stop being a scientist. He loves science.
Well, his intelligence definitely dropped since he joined the Decepticons.
Just because
I
he doesn't
disagree
have
with that.
street smarts doesn't mean that he doesn't have science smarts.
Exactly.
he's more focused on power now and like moving up the political ranks. He's done with the engineer stuff. His days are over there. He's trying to be CEO. So, yeah.
Political science is a science.
So, have you not watched these since you were younger, or have you watched these before or since?
No, I haven't really touched this series since I was a kid. So, yeah, I have no real. I had no idea of what it would be like today. I can only base, my knowledge of Transformers on what I knew it to be as a kid. Which, for the most part, was just an hour or half hour of things blowing up and lots of time in between to pop candy. So.
So, Charlie, we have a little thing we do here. We have some sections that we go over in our podcast. The first thing we normally go over is if there are any differences, major differences in the Generation 2 or the Japanese version of this episode. However, I did not have time to watch the Japanese episode for the first time since we started our podcast, so I've got nothing to say today. Maybe I'll get back to this section when we do the Insecticons episode. And then we normally go over the writer, but this episode was written by Douglas Booth, who is someone we already went over extensively in a prior episode on our podcast. So that leaves us to the real meat of the podcast, our first major section, which is we just to talk for as long as we want about what we like and didn't like about this specific episode.
Me, Grimlock, no like you.
Do you want to start us off, Charlie, with something that stood out to you?
Well, I gotta say, this episode, why Bali? they kind of drop you in on the island of Bali, and then you're in this mangrove swamp in Bali, and suddenly there's Insecticons, that are coming out of the swamp to not really attack people, but grain.
They just want to be annoying like real bugs.
They're looking for food. Yeah, that's true. That is very insect-like.
I mean, they seemed like they were more than willing to attack humans. The one Insecticon dive bombed that boat that there was nothing but humans on it.
Yeah, but I mean, he wanted the boat.
He wanted the boat.
They were going for the grain sacks that were in the boat that were just so delicious because you got to have fiber, right?
That's what I wrote too. I was like, are they eating grain? But then later in the episode, they do eat the ship and eat real. And wait, no, they don't eat energon. They actually just eat the oil straight up. They don't even convert it to energon like the rest of the Decepticons.
Yeah. What's up with that?
So that's the thing I was wondering is like, did they just I don't know what their intelligence level is. One of them at least seems kind of smart. But did they just grow or just hang around for millions of years not knowing a thing about energon and just decided we're just gonna eat stuff and then that's just good enough for us? But then eventually, I guess they were introduced to the oil, and then towards the end of the episode, they just stole Megatron's energon and ate that up.
Wow, we can make this stuff into energon? Great, tastes much better. It's like adding salt to food.
It is kind of funny how they're the only ones that can just don't have to transfer it to energon first to consume things.
Well, I figured that they'd be like an older model or something, since he said that, or Megatron said that they were shipped out before they crash landed or whatever. So, meh.
I thought he mentioned something of them being like an experiment, or maybe because he doesn't recognize them, so he's like, I don't know who you are, but I feel a destructive kinship or whatever. But maybe they were just never activated. Like they only activated.
Well, that was Kickback saying that.
They had the thing that they landed in, like was like some kind of escape pod, but I think.
Oh yeah, you're right, Charlie. Yeah, because when they were crashing on the planet, it was an escape pod that they shot off.
Yeah.
4 million years ago. So these guys are like primordial soup versions of like current Decepticons. They're just
that's kind of my like headcanon theory on them.
Yeah, so maybe they didn't have quite as much protection as the larger ship did, so they probably suffered a little bit more logic damage or something. I don't know.
They're essentially Dinobots, but bugs.
True. The Dinobots, I mean, aren't they like I didn't even get that far, but they're Autobots, right?
Yes.
So
but they were made technically, but they're still dumb as rocks.
Yeah, exactly, but these are the primordial soup version of the Decepticons. So you met the dumb version of the Autobots.
The Autobots. So now we get the dumb version of the Decepticons.
But we already had Starscream.
You take that back.
I quit. I don't want to podcast anymore.
Bye.
They're just primordial soup creatures that they're formative. They're an early race of robot that don't even need to convert energy to cool energy blocks. They just eat it straight out of the source, like straight out of the tar pit, whatever.
But they're when they landed on Earth, they were also like in suspended animation, right? And it seems like they only recently woke up and were detected by the Autobots and Decepticons. Like they haven't been roaming around Earth for 4 million years. Kind of seems otherwise the Earth would not even exist anymore by the time the Transformers woke up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, they would have wreaked a lot more havoc. Like the human race would have been well aware of Transformers before they woke up. The rest of them woke up.
It looked like the Insecticons definitely just woke up because they were like, I mean, nobody had seen them before. These weird guys.
But the swamp was called Demon Swamp. I kind of like assumed that it was called Demon Swamp because they lived there.
Possibly.
I forgot to research to see if that was a real swamp in Bali.
There cannot be. Oh my god.
But that swamp thing, that was the first thing I noticed. Like I guess they lived there so long they decided to name their home just Demon Swamp. I thought
Why
that was
not?
pretty funny.
No, the humans named it that because going there was certain death.
Well, the Insecticons accepted the name. They liked the name apparently.
Oh, they called
Yeah.
it that? I didn't realize.
Yeah,
That
they were
themselves-
like screaming it.
Somebody said, "Welcome to Demon Swamp." Ew.
I'm a demon.
So their audio wasn't entirely clear to me, like the voice actors. So what are they named? I know one of them is called Kickback.
And Bombshell,
Bombshell.
and I can never remember the other guy's name. I always remember Bombshell. He's the one that stands out because not in this episode, but he usually can shoot a shell at somebody at your brain and mind control you that way. And but he didn't do it this
Do they
episode.
all just have mind control powers? Is
That's
that
what
the
I wondered,
gimmick
because
of,
the other one has
Decepticons?
mind control electric waves because he controlled 2 of the Autobots this episode, but I don't think the third guy has anything related to that.
Who made the Insecticon clones? Was that the
Yeah.
third guy or one of the other two?
I can never their design changes a lot, so it's really hard to keep who's who. I just know Bombshell always has that grill on his face with straight line holes on it, so he's always the one that's easier to identify.
They look the same to me.
But then their powers, like I like how that one guy's like, "Oh man, a storm's coming in. Now I have superpowers."
Yeah.
But I thought, having superpowers to make an army of clones was pretty overpowered, because what is it, like one little scrap of metal somehow becomes an entire other Insecticon the size of an Insecticon? Like what the heck?
Yeah, their powers seem kind of crazy. Like I don't. To me, I feel like they should have been more menacing for the power that they have.
Mm-hmm. So I know this is off topic for a second, but I loved how when the Insecticons arrive, Megatron is just chilling, leaning against the side of the wall because he's the boss. He doesn't do any of the actual work. That's for underlings.
Oh yeah, I love that. He's just chilling, and everybody else is doing the work.
But one of my favorite parts was probably when just Optimus picked up the tanker ship and lobbed it at Megatron.
So why were the Decepticons so eager to meet up with these? The Decepticons were eager to meet up with the Insecticons. Were they recruiting, or
Yeah,
what is happening?
I think they were just trying to increase their power by getting more people, because the Autobots have twice as many people as the Decepticons.
There was a part where Soundwave releases, ravage the cassette tape to sniff around and like sniff out the Insecticons, and yeah.
And then, did he actually do that, or did it just cut to them finding them?
he like ran off, like he was hot on the trail of something, and then they got led to whatever it was.
Yeah, now that I think back, yeah, that was a weird. I guess I'm not entirely sure what the resolution of that was, because they definitely sent them out to go find them, but then it just seemed like they were already right next to each other doing stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That happens a lot, though.
Well, one other thing that confused me in the show was, the Insecticons can fly. They don't have wings. They're not jets or anything, but they're bugs, so that makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is that all of a sudden Wheeljack can fly.
Oh, so if you recall, when we did the character spotlight of Wheeljack, he actually has the ability to fly on his description.
And those descriptions were, I think I remember that they were created before the show aired, I think.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so the writers didn't use that power at all. Like, am I just misremembering? Has he flown at all in previous episodes?
Probably not. If he did, it might have been in the 3-part miniseries opening, but then again, all of them flew, so that might not have been relevant to his power.
God.
But yeah, I don't remember him ever flying beforehand. I just remember that one episode where I think freaking Ironhide just went up and flew after them and then got shot down, and then he's like, well, I won't discipline you for insubordination, Hired Hide. You're alive today, so that's all that's good enough.
That's weird. They just have this power that they just never use, apparently.
Yeah. So one thing I thought was hilarious is they're calling for help, right? And just, I was like, does everybody have an Autobot hotline, or has Optimus tapped all communications in the world to search for the words giant and robot? because, he doesn't care about privacy rights. I mean, those freedom-loving Decepticons at least use aerial reconnaissance.
I'm not understanding why Spike and his dad received an SOS call from Bali.
Well, no, they were in the Autobot base, so they were just taking it, like they were being the Autobot secretary, while the Autobots were just, out having fun or on patrol like they always are.
I guess they're just radio enthusiasts. They're just like sitting there listening to hear what's happening around the world. They're like, oh crap, somebody in Bali needs help. There's monsters.
Can radio waves even stretch that far? I'm not a scientist, but I thought
the radio wave, yes, radio waves can go very far. That's used in like a lot of space stuff. So yeah.
Okay.
But I think you guys are looking at them and just assuming a lot of innocence with them. I feel like any regular human that has any kind of like snooping power like that, they're not just going to be just doing ham radio crap. They're going to be spying on people too. So they're probably trying to see what their neighbors are up to, get some insiders trading stock tips and stuff. They were probably doing a lot of shady stuff and just happened to stumble upon Bali.
That's how in season 3, Spike is able to have his own private spaceship, afford a whole mansion on Earth and go somewhere in space, because he just got all this money back when he was illegally using Transformers alien technology during these seasons.
I mean, yeah. Checks out.
How big are cornfields in Bali compared to the rest of the world that they can hide Transformers, even Skyfire?
I think those were rice patties, actually, because there's parts where you can see like water that they're kind of.
Oh, okay.
Right.
It did kind of like corn. I couldn't tell what the grain was. Nondescript. It is more exciting than. I mean, they could have set this in Iowa. I mean, it could have been in an Iowa cornfield and could have like come at them with pitchforks or something instead. But I do kind of like the Bali rice field setting.
Speaking of Skyfire, I do appreciate that they actually managed to keep his scale consistent throughout the entire episode.
Are you sure about that?
It was mostly consistent. He was generally bigger than some of the smaller guys.
Wait, also speaking about Skyfire, where did he go at the end of the episode? Like, I feel like I missed something.
Oh, he just vanished?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he didn't join them in the final battle.
No, he's just gone. He got attacked by Insecticons and then disappeared.
He
disappeared.
He's
just dead off in a field.
Yeah, and then the Insecticons showed up, but he didn't until like much later.
Yeah,
Skyfire was dead in episode 7. He like sacrificed himself. How did he come back? I didn't get that
most
far.
Beautiful thing in the world. I'm sorry. Also, hi. I also really enjoy Skyfire.
He was totally dead. Like at the end of, I think it was episode 7. He was like helping. You know how you first meet him and find out he's an old buddy of Starscream. And anyway, at the end, he fights Starscream and something happens. He's like, oh, I gotta fire one last shot. And he like destroys the crystal that's sucking energy from the earth. And then.
Yeah, he was supposed to have like a long slumber in the snow, but pretty much like the next episode, the Autobots go wake him up.
Oh, okay.
They dig him out and be like, hey, there's no time to rest or get fixed. We need you to transport some Autobots.
I assumed he was dead. I was like, oh, that was a cool character. Too bad.
Yeah, I thought that too when I was younger because I didn't actually see the other episode where he came back because I didn't have that one on VHS.
Yeah. Plus, if you watched it on TV, they probably showed it out of order, and you're thinking, oh no, that's the end of my character, So.
Something funny. I kind of liked all the really bad puns throughout this episode. Like, stop bugging me.
There was so much bug crap. Oh my god.
Really bad ones like, there is no spray that can defeat this. That doesn't even make sense as a comeback line.
Flips over a stupid truck thing. I'm just like, okay.
But the funniest is when he kicks Skyfire down and he says, he's going down from defeat due to defeat.
Wait, what even?
Terrible.
But the funniest is, he says, take this, you Autobot booby.
That's my favorite line in the entire show.
For those of you that are younger, booby is actually a real dictionary word. It is not slang. It refers to a stupid or childish person. The more you know.
You Autobot booby.
Like Brazil, this this they do you remember in the Brazil episode where Skyfire comes back, all of the natives of Brazil are all colored appropriately, but then we cut to the factory right next door and everyone's white. And then they do almost the same thing here this time. Everybody in the fields, in the swamps, all kind of this brown color palette. And then they cut to the factory, and like most of the people are like white, but they actually do color some black people in this time. Even though
Oh
they don't match
yeah,
the pigments of everyone else that were in the fields or the swamps.
yeah. I didn't notice that at first, but yeah, now that I think back, I was like, yeah, there were just random white people all of a sudden. Like,
What do you think
They're
of
trying their best.
you think of that authentic Balinese accent, like the guy who's saying that he should have got the rug spray out. I think we need to talk about that vehicle, the way the Autobots show up in Bali, because that's just,
Well, they're in Oregon, right?
are they?
I don't. They're somewhere in the western United States.
When they were driving in Bali, they just showed up in the mountains of Bali for some reason.
well, yeah, that's the part that doesn't make sense. I think that's what we're getting at. Is
They
this
do that
how
every
could they
episode,
drive
though.
from the West Coast to Bali?
Did they teleport or did they?
Skyfire flies real fast.
I assume that I didn't even think about the details. I just assumed, okay, they flew over or something, and they set themselves up, and then now they're driving because they're driving their own bodies as vehicles. So yeah, they can fly, then they can drive. Like, why would they not be down in the swamp where things are happening? Like, why are they driving in the mountains and running into funeral processions and looks like
Well, they had to drive all the way here over all that water to get to Indonesia. So, and they just showed up from whatever direction, the US is from Indonesia. And I guess they had to go through those mountains.
and it looks like they ran into like a funeral. They're like, they're having a party up here. That's rude. They're blocking the road. Like, they're like carrying their elders up to bury them.
Wait, are you serious? Is that what?
No, it just looked like that. It just and who lugs like that much umbrellas and canopies and stuff up a steep mountain trail just to have a party? But
Mhm.
yeah.
I can get to that later because we do have another section later called Stupid Moments where we just mention anything stupid in this episode.
Okay.
You can't
But-
just say Starscream.
No, don't worry. I don't have him this episode. He didn't show up.
Hey, that's true. Thundercracker took his place.
So Megatron actually called Ravage a cassette. I think that's the first and last time they ever do that. I'm not
Yeah,
really sure.
usually he will say like send Ravage or something like that. But yeah, he just this time he said send in the Ravage cassette. It was just like, why are you just calling him cassettes? I mean, he's just you've known him as a Decepticon robot this whole time. Now you're getting used to just calling him the human invention cassette.
He's adapting to the human slang, that Megatron. But yeah, and also I don't know if you noticed it, but one of the Autobots said the word murder.
Yeah,
I don't know
I
if
thought
it-
that was pretty noteworthy. Yeah.
I don't know if it got by the censors or if it was acceptable due to its context because it was basically a figure of speech. He wasn't actually threatening to murder somebody, which is not acceptable. It might have been allowed that way, or it might have just slipped by them. We'll start. Sammy, what other more things you like and didn't like about this episode?
I didn't like that Starscream was not in it.
Okay, next, Thomas.
Um,
I'm just kidding. If you have more stuff.
frankly, you kind of covered all of it because like a lot of my favorite parts were the dumb jokes.
Do you have any more?
You said all of them.
I'm
Wait, no,
sorry.
you didn't. Hold on. No, there was one where it was towards the later half of the episode where he's like, "Yeah, tastes lightning, tastes awful."
Yes, yes. Oh my god, I knew it. I was trying to think of that. I forgot all about it, and I was like, "What was it that I remembered?" And yes, that was it. Just his response was just like he gets hit in the chest and falls to the ground. Is like it tastes awful with just a straight monotone voice.
Yeah, like it was absolutely the delivery and like the like it was quality.
Oh, that was
a good moment.
so good. It tastes awful. To kind of piggyback on the
Thomas?
lightning stuff, the one thing I wanted to bring up was that this episode they kind of approach real science, and it was portrayed almost 100% accurately.
Is it the rubber tire bit?
Yes. So if
Really?
lightning hits your car or your antenna, if you're inside the car, you will be okay.
Holy
Okay.
shit.
So Spike was fine. He had the right idea. The gray area comes into play where the metal could be messed up of the outside of the car, the antennas and the circuitry, that would get ruined, and your tires would probably melt as well. So to me, the gray area is that, well, these guys are Autobot, they're Transformers. Maybe they're a bit more resilient than regular cars, but normally that would not, your car's ruined, your circuitry's ruined, and stuff like that. But that was kind of real science right there that they actually did.
Usually travels around the outside. Well, at least he mentioned the insulators, but I don't think that would diffuse. Well, I mean, usually the current will just travel around the outside of the car for the most part. But I don't think the tires would do anything to help like diffuse the lightning. They just won't. They're not in the right place. If it hit the ground and then it touched the insulators, then it couldn't really reach the rest of it. But yeah, I wasn't sure what was going on there. So
They tried. It's the closest thing they've got to science in these episodes.
Inside the car, Thomas, if your car got struck by lightning?
Yeah, you'd be safe.
Okay.
As long as the windows are up and stuff like that, yeah, you'll be safe. Your hearing would probably be jacked up because lightning strikes are really loud.
So what about you, Charlie? Any more dislikes of the episode?
I think you like that part where they call Rumble a sawed-off nerd.
yeah, that's really messy. What's up with them picking on Rumble? Little guy. I mean, I saw one episode where he's pounding the hell out of this wall. He's like really just hacking it to bits. And this guy comes up behind him. He starts picking on him. And then he just turns around and he says absolutely nothing to his own defense. He's just like looking at him like, yeah, you jerk. I'll get you later.
Is that the one where they just look over at the cornfield and they see them through the cornfield now because they are at a different angle?
I don't know. I feel like he's like, why do they keep picking on him? He's small, but he's actually really good. They use him for a lot of stuff. Like Rumble's a good character.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny because he wasn't even in the episode at that point, and they were just like, remember this guy that we really, really hate?
I hate him. He's so cute. He's little. Like things to break rock apart. Little pounders.
Or the entire ground under your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Charlie, our next segment is animation errors, where we talk about any animation errors that we noticed.
So I definitely noticed there is a point where Kickback or whatever, I'm going to call all the Insecticons Kickback.
That will give you kickback from the fans.
I'll drop a bombshell on them then. Actually, that's terrible. Cut that out.
Oh, God.
I love all of you, our precious viewers. Anyways, where two of the Insecticons were on screen, one of them, he was talking, but his Decepticon logo was just flashing like a rave. And I'm like, okay, all right, I don't know what's going on, but...
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was just, I don't know what was going on there.
They just forgot a frame of where they had to do the logo, but since they were, reusing whatever 2 or 3 frames, it just kept not being there.
You know what I noticed about the logo on the escape pod? And I thought this was going to be part of the story, but they made the Decepticons look red instead of being purple. So I was thinking, oh, so it's ancient, it's like the predecessor to the Decepticons and the Autobots, but it wasn't. Disappointment. It's just miscolored. They just colored it red instead of purple.
Yeah, that seems to be just the typical miscolors of a lot of things that they do in this series.
Oh yeah, there's always a ton, but I usually only see the ones that stand out. There was a miscolor when the Decepticons leave the farmland, and I can't tell if they accidentally drew Skyfire leaving with the Decepticons, or if they colored Thundercracker Skyfire's color.
Yeah. Definitely noticed that one.
The most hilarious one, though, is when Spike and Bumblebee are boarding Skyfire the first time, they wave goodbye, and then the doors close on them. Like, and they're still in front of the door, and in my mind, I imagine them getting crushed to death through the doors in their side. But, like,
Skyfire would feel so bad.
they're standing in front now where they have no room. They should have just fallen off. But yeah, basically the doors closed behind them when it should have closed in front of them.
Yeah,
But
that was the one thing that I noticed. And yeah, that was, to me, that was like super weird because so some of the other Autobots loaded in before them and they load in and they disappear. But for whatever reason, Bumblebee and Spike get on last, and then they turn around to pose. And then while they're posing, the doors close and they're still posing and smiling
yeah.
as if they're on the outside of the door or something. It was just like completely weird. And it sits there for like 2 seconds. So like I don't know how that was ever missed.
Awkward. I like that.
Yeah. It's not animation error, but Charlie, I actually noticed a lot of the Star Wars sound effects throughout this episode with their laser blasters from the Insecticons and things like that.
What's better than those like cartoon like Scooby-Doo sound effects? Like there's this part in another one where Megatron turns himself into like this gun thing, and then when he fires, it's like splat. It just makes a really goofy sound. I'm like, dude, you can't turn into some kind of better weapon than that.
Anybody have any more animation errors they caught? Charlie?
It's all animation error to me.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm blind to it. It's like you have to like turn your brain off when you're watching. If something really jumps out,
Oh
then
wow.
that door thing, that's a funny.
Yeah.
They must be terminated.
For the deleted audio, this is going to be hilarious. We're not going to listen to any episode, but it was basically around 8 minutes long, and about 6 minutes of it or more are just Insecticon sound effects. All right, guys, make the Insecticons the sound of eating the grain for, 15 seconds for each of the 3 Insecticons. And it's just like, and then it's like, all right, now everybody do threatening sounds one at a time. And then it's like, all right, now Autobot staggering noises. There was some of Spike that sound awful but hilarious. Now wrestling sounds, now the cackling, now oil slurping. And then it just ends with more eating sounds in case they messed up on the first one. That's it. It's nothing but Foley background noise. There were 2 extended audio sections, but they didn't really provide much, or I didn't think were that interesting enough to post or listen to.
I do remember a lot of munching.
Someone found the entire first season of deleted audio about 3 years ago, and they've been posting it on a YouTube channel called Transformers at the Moon. So you can listen to all deleted audio from all the first 16 episodes of Transformers.
Cool.
Wait, only the first 16 episodes?
Yeah, I think it's been a
Aw.
year or more now since that, and I think it's only the first season that they found dialogue from.
Huh.
So, yeah, after next episode, we won't have any more deleted audio to listen to.
Say it.
All right, the next section, Charlie, is called Retcons, where we go over anything that might have retconned previous episodes.
Computer error.
I don't consider the Insecticons being introduced from the ship as a retcon. I consider that more of expanding on a story point that's already there. Just using what's already available in the universe and expanding upon it.
Wouldn't say that that's a retcon or anything like that. I mean, to me, it's completely feasible. I mean, it is kind of weird if Decepticons have a ship that's somewhat functional, that they don't have records of stuff that happened. Like, we were on the ship with several other Decepticons. Where did they go? Escape pods are missing. Maybe they jettisoned during the crash or something. And they wouldn't just be looking for those guys this whole time.
4 million years ago?
Well, no. Once they awoken.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because after seeing that Skyfire survived, and well, yeah, I guess it was just Skyfire. He's the only Transformer that they found away from their ship. Everybody else was, they were just made, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Constructicons and the Dinobots were created. Skyfire is the only one that was found outside of the crash site.
I mean, that's because, he's been there for actually 4 million years plus.
Did he arrive at the planet before the
Wait, it was when Starscream and Skyfire were like observing the planet while they were still scientists,
Yeah,
and
that's right. That's
Skyfire
right.
crashed.
Another thing, I thought there was a point where divided into the Autobots and the Decepticons. I thought there must have been like one master race of all of them or something. But, like it seems like you go all the way back and there were still Decepticons and still Autobots, but I guess only the Civil War is recent. Is that how it works?
It really depends on what lore you go into, and I have no idea what the G1 continuity is under.
Yeah, we don't know anything about that right now during the first season. They expand more on it near the end of the second season because someone actually time travels back to right just before the war started.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh,
then
well
we
then.
see the inconsistencies really come out.
Yeah. And then in the third season, they're like, well, these people actually created the Autobots and Decepticons. And they
Aw.
introduce a whole race. But that's a story for a different time. So the actual story Bible actually does say that the Insecticons were jettisoned from the Nemesis ship that brought the Decepticons to Earth. Even if it wasn't, fully clear when they got in the dialogue of the actual episode. But then again, you can't go by what's written in the Bible. You have to go by what's actually presented on screen.
Or headcanons.
Okay, so
Don't tell me what to do. I do what I want when I want.
Starscream's blunders and other stupid moments. So now we can start talking about poor old Sideswipe today and his genius move to dig under the tunnels.
Hey.
I thought it was hilarious. He's like, I have good instincts. Everyone follow me. Immediately comes to a dead end. And then Wheeljack is making fun of him. And so it feels like to save face, Sideswipe just goes, yeah, I was going to dig through this. It feels like he just made it up because he didn't want to look stupid. And then everybody just starts following him because they trust him and then they can't turn back.
We're in this too deep.
Somebody's like, wait a minute, how do you know this countryside? We're in Bali. How do you know how to take a shortcut down the mountain?
Research.
Well, they always send the Autobots on patrol in random parts of the world. Maybe he patrolled here before.
He's a proton-powered pathfinder. That's what somebody calls it. That times fast.
Yeah, but yeah, I just can't believe, we can't get around this parade. We'll dig through the ground.
I enjoy how, they spend, half the episode trying to dig through that, and then Optimus is like, God damn it, guys, and just busts through. Why didn't we just start with that?
Well, I thought they were getting near the end, so he's just like,
Are you
"F
sure?
this."
Because it didn't look like it.
He said something really weird before he went through that wall. He was like, all right, guys, I'm going to take a nap. And he just, burst through it. I can't remember what was happening. He says something weird right before he goes through that.
I totally missed that.
Let's take a break.
No, that makes sense because he's breaking the wall.
Yeah.
It's a dumb joke.
God.
Yeah.
Because there were
Yep.
so many puns.
Yeah.
So, okay, this is my question for you, Thomas. If I go stand on top of a car, on the outside of the car, on its roof, and then I get struck by lightning, am I protected by the lightning because the car itself has tires, even if I myself am struck by the lightning while on top of it?
But technically he has tires too.
Yeah, but the tires aren't grounded. He's
Right,
using
no,
his
that's
metal
true.
feet
We're
to
not.
stand on the metal roof of Bumblebee.
No.
Oh,
I'm laughing at this question. No, you're dead. If you get struck, you're dead.
Bumblebee's yellow, though.
You're gonna get struck out of your shoes off of the top of the car.
I think yellow things are just so naturally resistant to electricity, like Pikachu and other yellow things.
So Thomas, they got the science right, and then completely then just forgot about it right immediately after.
Oh yeah, well, you're talking about when they were riding on top of. They just brought up a new attack strategy, like a big semi truck, and he was being carried by two little guys. It was weird.
Oh, so I am going to bring up Starscream because at the end they say the Decepticons won't fight long because of their engineering, and all I can think of is, wait a minute, is this assumed that Decepticons always live this and just team back up again? Is this why Megatron never kills Starscream? Because it's at a genetic level, they're programming, they have to accept each other. Even no matter how many times that other Decepticon tries to kill you.
When did they say that?
They said the Decepticons won't fight long because of their engineering. That is a direct quote.
Who said it?
One of the Autobots to Optimus.
I think he was just being like facetious. Like he's just insulting them.
They're both made for the same purpose, which is destruction, I suppose. So eventually evil must unite with the other evil, and they'll always be against the Autobots, even if they want to keep their little separate Insecticon group.
I'm gonna go with it being a bad joke.
Yeah, I'm going with that too.
But it sounded like he really meant it, so...
To me, it sounded valid that they would rejoin. It seemed like important that they would rejoin the Decepticons at some point in the future to fight the Autobots again. So that's what my interpretation was. But
Yeah, I just interpret it as the reason why Megatron never kills Starscream, because, you know, they're the same people.
oh, there we go. Because I would have been done with.
Except that's completely, null and void by the time we hit the movie.
Well, now he's no longer Decepticon. He's a Unicronon.
No, he's still a Decepticon. That's not. No.
He was modified, so now, he's got Unicron
But he's still a
programming in him.
Decepticon.
Hey, boys, we're gonna be movie stars!
Main character. Did it feel like there was a main character this episode, or was this just everything happens and then it ends?
Insecticons. Like that's it's their first appearance. Of course, they're gonna focus on them.
Yeah. I mean, it did focus a lot on them doing stuff too, so that's what it made me think that possibly the Insecticons, but I don't know what you guys thought.
I thought the oil tanker was the main character of this episode.
That's true. Actually, I take back my opinion. It's that. Actually, no, guys, it's Thundercracker.
It was pretty evenly dispersed, wasn't it? It was like they didn't focus on any particular character for very long in the episode. It seems like it would have spent more time with the Insecticons because it's totally about them. It's like you're introducing a new species to have new, toys for kids.
I mean, Insecticons, I think they were covered a lot because they pretty much got the first 5 minutes to themselves.
Yeah, and then they all got their special abilities to be used toward the end, toward in the middle.
And then they got power upgrades before the episode even ended.
I don't even know what the third guy's name is. I mean, it just helped them a little better.
He said his name. We just don't understand what he said.
We seriously, none of us between the four of us can remember the third Insecticon.
Nope.
Okay. Bombshell, Kickback. I was like, no, Scrappers and a Constructicon. I don't remember. Anyway, on to
Shrapnel.
Shrapnel, yes. It's because he has shrapnel grenades. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was Shrapnel. Oh my god. There we go. Now he has a name. Could have said them all at once. That would have helped.
I think they usually try to introduce themselves once, and then after that, it's up to you to remember every single one of them.
I dispute that. There's been a lot of Autobot appearances where just dudes are just showing up and we're just expected to know who they are. Like the little guys on the Autobots. I have no idea who's who. I know there's a Brawn, and I don't know what he looks like. He looks like 5 other dudes.
He's the yellow guy that always talks like he's strong and gruff, even though he's small. Anti-Bumblebee.
Which one is Trowel? There's one named Trowel. I'm like,
you mean
Prowl,
Prowl, not Prowl?
Oh, maybe it's Prowl. Okay. Maybe
okay, yeah, Prowl. Is he oh my god, wow. The police car with the shoulder rockets.
Oh, the police car. I thought that was Blue Streak or something.
Yeah, they're both like the same exact design, just about, with a few alterations on their helmet.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I'm like, who are these? Those guys are hard to track.
When we get to the next episode, it'll prove why the previous episodes have been terrible at introducing the Autobot. But we won't go into that right now.
I'm used to him just turning up. I'm just like, oh, there's that other dude again. What happened to him in the last 2 episodes? Like, just he's there. Like in the beginning, there was some guy named Sunstreak or something that was yellow. I'm like looking for Bumblebee. I'm like, where the hell's Bumblebee?
It's all right. Sunstreaker eventually gets his own episode.
Yeah, so they actually said that the Transformers were animated during each episode were based on the least amount of voice actors they had to hire in one day for that episode. So if there
Oh
were
my
only
God.
3 people and each one voices 2 voices, it's those 6 Autobots that are going to be in that episode.
That's funny.
Okay.
And anyone else who appears is just the animators adding them into the background, so it looks like there's more of them that episode than there actually are.
That
They're not
sounds weird.
animated on the fly. They're just like, do they wait to color it or something to make him, maybe all the bots look the same and that's what I don't understand. How can they
Yeah, 'cause that's an odd workflow to me. It's like, do you not have the storyboards done before you even call in the voice actors? You're just gonna have them do the lines first and then you animate?
I just remember it was a special feature on the original Rhino DVDs that talked about that I don't think are on my Shout DVDs because I
That they do
only
the
ever
writing
They
first?
don't have it storyboarded, by the way. It's just the script.
Oh.
It's just the
Wow.
script, and then they voice. They don't see like anything.
Wow. So that would be so weird if they like recorded it first and then
I mean, not really. That's how Western animation works.
really?
Yeah,
I didn't know.
they did the voice work first and then send it to the animators to animate based on the voice files.
Yep. And
Oh,
sometimes if they don't have a voice, they'll actually do like a dummy take essentially. I forgot what the actual word is for it, but it'll be like the director or whatever, just like doing a take of the voice so they can at least do the lip flap somewhat okay.
Oh, and then you dub something else in later, or
Yep. Yeah, if they just don't have the actor on hand at the moment.
eh.
Yeah.
That's kind of a crappy workflow. Yeah. I guess I can kind of see that, but
Well, the thing is, it gives the actors like a lot more freedom to do what they think that the character is going to do. Because it's not animated yet, if they say like a better line or whatever, and they want to use that line instead, then it's a lot easier to put that line in because it's not animated yet.
yeah.
Back in the day, they also would record in like big groups. So like all of them are all playing with each other, and that's why you have a lot of like synergy in the older 80s cartoons.
Cool.
Yep.
There's your voice acting fun fact of the day.
Yep, you just said, Sammy, what I was going to tell her too.
Sorry,
Yep.
it's voice acting. I have to like be like, here's information.
We don't need our fun facts section now. We already covered that Bali's a real place. Sammy's talking about voice acting.
Yeah.
Glad to know that. That makes it more exciting.
Yeah, happy to provide information.
The fun fact I had was a question. I was like, did the Decepticons ever get a sea-based vehicle? When I saw them fighting with the tanker, I was like, I don't think the Decepticons at all in G1 ever get a sea-based vehicle.
Do the Autobots get one?
Yeah, unfortunately. No, I just hate his voice. It's annoying to listen to and figure out what he's saying each time, so he's really annoying to listen to.
Oh, I guess he has like, I'm underwater.
Yes.
I'm underwater. Nobody can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I saw a really stupid YouTube video where someone pretended to be that Autobot Sea Spray and sang Under the Sea, but with Sea Spray's voice.
I hate it.
So,
But anyway, any last minute comments about this episode before we go into our character spotlight?
where they say they can turn Spike into a motorcycle if he wants.
That
And
was
one
weird.
response was that he'll think about it when he's old enough to drive. But it's funny, they offer this all the time. I just like how they offer Spike these ways of
Becoming a cyborg.
because they don't understand how human physiology works, and they're like, like looking at his legs, like, how would you like to be fitted with some wheels and a gearbox? And he's like, I'm not quite 18 yet, so.
Well, I mean, they look at Chip. He has wheels, so why can't Spike get wheels?
Oh.
Oh man.
And also, it's like, then because of that quote, you can tell that he's not old enough to drive, right? This just proves that he was an underage kid working in construction back in the earlier episodes.
Yeah.
Like you do.
Uh,
I'm not convinced he's not old enough to drive, but that's a good way to cop out of that whole being morphed into a motorcycle thing. Have all your bones crushed.
yeah, we'll save that for his kid.
Yep. Good times involved to everyone.
Yeah. Charlie, would you like to read our character spotlight for this episode? The character spotlight is the Autobot known as Jazz.
Autobot known as Jazz. Do I know this Autobot?
He's the one who kind of talks with a smooth voice.
He's like, "Hey, my jiving people."
Wow.
Better. Jazz is the jive talking white and black Porsche.
The original toy packaging, he had a quote and a biography, and then we also go after his fate after the movie, assuming that he lived from it, and then also any more fun facts about him that we discovered.
Okay.
So continue whenever you are ready.
Okay. So my supposed packaging biography says Jazz loves Earth culture. Always looking to learn more. His knowledge of Earth makes him an indispensable right-hand man to Optimus Prime. Takes most dangerous missions. Very cool, very stylish, very competent. Competent? Comment is about a robot. Equipped with a photon rifle, flamethrower, full spectrum beacon, 180 decibel stereo speakers. Yeah, now that's what I'm talking about.
Oh my
God. It's dazzling, disorienting sound and light shows. Versatile, clear, clever, daring, but prone to be distracted. I would too if I had some speakers and probably some rims and whatever this guy has.
Frankly, I think this has been the most accurate biography so far.
He really does do all that.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't he the one that break dances in the later episodes anyway?
Yeah.
Oh, God. But with style, don't bother doing it.
Yeah, even that just fits too. Like, yeah, they got that pretty accurate, or decided it was appropriate for the cartoon. So let's see his fate after the movie.
Wait, I still function.
So Jazz was in the movie on one of the Cybertron's moons with Bumblebee and adult Spike. Ooh, Spike is an adult. I think he's already an adult, but okay, whatever. Initially thought killed when Unicron ate the moon, being processed inside Unicron, and the other characters saved him before he could be melted. Then participated in the Galactic Olympics. Okay. And continued to fight in Headmasters and actually showed up in many episodes. What?
The Headmasters is a Japanese sequel to Transformers Season 3, and he is actually one of the few Season 1 Autobots that shows up from time to time.
Okay, but that can be confusing. That's just another show. You need to explain what the Galactic Olympics are.
Yeah, what are that's
that
what
was just too much. I think it's just a random G3 episode, I think. Or
Are there other aliens? Like, do the Cybertronians meet other aliens? Are humans aware of other aliens?
I have no idea. It depends on whatever continuity you're in. Who knows?
Wait a minute. Is he participating as a robot or a car?
I you know what? I didn't go into too much depth. I was just seeing if he lived, and then
You just skip right over the Galactic Olympics part, Sean. That's what you did.
I am so confused.
But have you seen the movie, Charlie?
The old school Transformers movie,
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember the Olympics though.
Oh no, I was just saying because Spike is an adult at that point and is married and has a kid in that future.
I thought that was him as a kid. I didn't pay attention to the kid. I thought it was the same guy. I thought it was a dad and son. I can't remember who the kid was. I have to go back and watch that. But
Did they turn him into a motorcycle? Was he a motorcycle yet in that movie?
Oh, he does
Daniel
become a
is.
motorcycle, just like they said in this episode.
I thought it was Daniel, not Spike.
Yeah, well, the Spike is on the moon. You think he dies with Bumblebee and Jazz.
No, I mean the motorcycle bit.
Yeah.
Does somebody actually get turned into a motorcycle?
Well,
I thought it
Daniel
was
wears
Daniel.
that outfit, and he becomes
Yeah.
like a motorcycle to get away from like Cyclonus
Yeah.
or somebody. Or
Yeah,
Scourge.
because Rodimus is like, hey, you just got to think about transforming and you'll transform. And he's like, I'm trying. And then eventually does.
Wait,
Turns
this
into a car,
happens
though.
in
He's
the
not a
movie?
motorcycle.
No, he turns
Yeah.
into a car, and then it goes, dare to be. No, I'm just kidding. I don't.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not, who knows?
Anyways, we ain't talking about the movie. Well, we are talking about the movie.
Anyway,
but,
so after the Olympics,
Okay. I can't read this next part. There's some weird stuff in here.
sorry.
We'll try.
Okay, so
his
yeah.
last animated appearance,
typos everywhere.
Sorry, I was trying to get this done at the last minute.
according to a
Okay.
Pack-in story, I guess. What?
Sorry. Okay, so sorry. I'll just word it. His last canon appearance after Headmasters is a pack-in story with some action figures that say 15 years later he's still fighting with Grimlock and Bumblebee, and they're fighting against another returned Starscream
Starscream's a good boy, and he doesn't deserve to die.
because he keeps coming back.
Yes.
And apparently he possesses an angel from Evangelion with his ghost form in this random crossover I just discovered actually
You know what? I'm
exists.
stoked for it.
And by crossover, I mean a paragraph of text 4 times, and that's all it is. I'm just
Oh.
like, okay, I guess that's a crossover. Thanks. I was like, what's the point if it's just going to be this small text story like this?
Yeah, it's a little weird.
So, anyway, that was Jazz. Do you guys like Jazz, the character in the actual show?
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty cool. He's jiving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not a whole lot of him in these first 15 episodes.
Yeah, I
There's
feel
only-
like he's definitely more prominent in season 2 for some reason.
Yeah, he doesn't really stand out to me. Having not watched pretty much all of G1, I at least know about breakdancing part. Like I've seen that a lot.
I seem to remember that from my childhood, but I haven't in these first few episodes. Season 1 now, I haven't seen it. So yeah. There's also like a part where they're setting themselves on the beach a lot, and I was expecting to see that, but I haven't seen them do that yet either. So
I will start with this Jazz fact, and we can see if we want to cut it or not. Because when the
Oh.
Power of the Primes Jazz figure was released a few years ago, there were 4 letters that were only millimeters tall under the Autobot symbol. People assumed they were Cybertronian because it was small, but after they compared lots of pictures from other people who bought it, it actually said MAGA under it from the Trump campaign. When it was brought to Hasbro's attention, they discovered that it was inserted by a vendor without their authorization, and they were addressing the vendor and apologized to everyone offended because they do not intend for their toys to carry political messages.
That's
awkward.
weird.
Yeah.
that's
I would be
strange.
freaking pissed for anyone that does something like that to my product if I was like Hasbro.
Yeah, I feel like the bigger corporations, they try to, the ones that care about selling stuff and not being in the middle of boycotts and all that kind of stuff, they try to stay away from politics 100%. And then for just some random vendor, I guess they were the people who printed the packaging or something.
Yeah, I would fire that person if you'd find out who that
Yeah,
was.
I'm sure that if they weren't being sued, they're definitely not being worked with again.
And that's like the actions of one individual causing possible dropping a major company not working for your company anymore because of one person.
Oh, well, that happens a lot.
So, but anyway, Sammy, you want to read the next fun fact?
Yeah. So his original design is based on a Martini racing Porsche, the same one that won the first circuit of the 1976 World Championship for Maches? The Mugello Cup. Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea why it's worded that way either. So,
Well, I just I don't know how to pronounce these names, so sorry I butchered them.
I see it's a Capello mug. Sorry.
Yeah. Though that was a quality joke for a Transformers episode. Though his sticker was purposely misspelled as Martini with 2 eyes to avoid copyrights.
That's all it takes, is just a typo.
Yes.
All right, Thomas, next one.
His original figure, though also available in stores in 1984, in 1985, he was only available as a mail-in order for Cookie Crisp cereal. PVC figure was also available through Boss Coffee, Japan only, in 2008. So was his face like on billboards with Tommy Lee Jones when they were selling Boss Coffee together?
I've actually had Boss Coffee now for the first time when I was in Japan because they make milk teas over there, and they're actually pretty good.
Yeah, I don't drink coffee, but when I went to Japan, I was drinking the canned coffees all the time. They're good.
They're
Like
Yeah.
so good.
I
Well, I don't drink the coffees, but I drank their Boss Coffee teas, even though they're not
okay.
coffee in the teas. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I tried Boss Coffee, but the main reason I was getting into the coffee stuff is because of Twin Peaks. For whatever reason, was super popular in Japan. Well, I don't know about super popular, but popular enough that they wanted to have them do commercials, and they just had them doing Georgia coffee commercials constantly. So when I went to Japan, I was like, I need to get canned Georgia coffee because I don't think Georgia coffee exists anymore in the U.S. I don't think. I'm not too sure. I'm not a coffee drinker.
Well, Thomas, if you like Boss Coffee, they actually sell the Boss Coffee at H Mart or Lotte, but they don't have the Boss Coffee teas. So I was sad about that. They only bring the two main coffee flavors over that they know people will buy.
Hmm.
Anyway, Charlie, you want to read the next fact?
There are two strange variants of jazz. First is an all-orange Generation 2 design that was scrapped. The second is a fully gold version of jazz called Meister Gold version in 2002 that was available from eHobby.
A gold version, yeah. I just think that's pretty weird for jazz.
Huh. So there's an orange version, and well, it says it was scrapped. So did they?
Yeah, there was a lot of Generation 2 designs that didn't make it to actual market, but they have the designs of the art and then sometimes even like prototype figures that were never actually released to market.
Oh, interesting. Released after a certain year are now called Autobot Jazz, likely because jazz is a normal word and thus cannot be copyrighted. Oddly, however, a few figures then named him Meister instead of Jazz.
I don't know why that happens because I don't know if Meister's copyrightable. I mean, and then because wouldn't it need to be Autobot Meister for it to
Exactly.
be
I
copyrightable?
mean, that is just a regular word, right?
Yeah. And one thing that's hilarious is there were jazz rubber figures that were sold with candies, and I think a few other ones were. But he himself is not candy; he's just made of rubber.
Don't eat him.
Oh, you get a rubber figure and some candy.
Yeah, Sammy, you want to finish off with an alternate name that he had in two
Yeah.
places?
So his Italian name is Tiger. He is also called Marshall in the Hong Kong English dub of Headmasters because everybody's dub name is ridiculous. And when I mean
Yeah.
ridiculous, they're just actually normal names. But, I don't want normal names on my robots.
But yeah, that's our character spotlight, and that is basically our episode. Unless someone wants to talk more about jazz.
Yeah, let's talk about jazz by way of the Galactic Olympics. So let's really go into that, Sean.
Did he wear a sweatband?
What'd you say?
The robots wearing sweatbands in the Galactic Olympics. Like 1984 Olympics. I'm trying to visualize this.
Was he in what was his event, like the 100-meter dash?
I don't know. It would take too long to look.
All right, let's end this episode. This one I feel like has gone long.
That's terrible.
Thank you for joining us, Charlie.
Yeah, thank all.
I hope you all have had a good time this episode, viewer. And signing off for this episode, I am normal Sean, who can't think of a nickname, and everyone else who is
Sammy back.
Thomas
Ian
Shell.
Insecticon.
Autobot Thomas.
Oh my God.
Perfect.
I'm gonna copyright my name.
Do it.
Charlie, you can say your name and sign off too.
Oh, okay. Charlie, signing off. It's great to be here. First podcast. Hope I wasn't too awkward.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see everyone else another time.